You have $500 million. The kid at the car wash tells you your car is too dirty for the basic package. He says it kindly. He's maybe 19, he's got the little headset on, and he leans down to your window and looks at the mud on your wheel wells and says, honestly, sir, for this, you're going to want the premium. You look at the mud, you agree with him completely. You get the basic anyway. He sighs the sigh of a young man who has tried to help. You tip him $5. You pull forward through the big, soft, flapping brushes, and the water comes down. And for 2 minutes, the whole world is blue foam and noise. It's your favorite part. It's your car wash. You own it. You own this one and the one on Route 9 and 11 more across the county. And the kid with the headset has never once wondered who signs his check. And that is exactly the way you want it. It's not in anything exciting, not in a stock somebody on the internet is screaming about. It's in laundromats. It's in car washes and vending routes, and a bowling alley that still smells like 1994 in a mobile home park, where the rent is fair because you decided it would be. Boring stuff. Stuff that takes quarters. Stuff people are a little embarrassed to be seen at. The first laundromat you bought for $19,000 because the old owner wanted out and nobody else wanted in. It had 4 broken dryers and a cat. You fixed 3 of the dryers and kept the cat. Now you drive a Honda with 110,000 miles on it and a coffee stain on the passenger seat shaped like Florida. You just paid for the basic wash. A coupon in your wallet saves you $2 on the next one, and you are genuinely looking forward to using it. Here's the only thing you're actually worried about. There's a man. He wears a good coat, the kind that costs more than it looks like it costs, which is the whole point of it. And he's been driving around the county for 3 weeks, buying up every boring little cash business he can find. Laundromats, car washes, the exact boring stuff you own. And last Tuesday, he told your manager, real friendly, that he was going to find the owner of all these places if it took him the whole summer. He's going to keep looking. And the closer he gets, the more your quiet, careful, invisible little life starts to feel like it has a clock on it. But that's a few weeks off. Right now it's a Wednesday, and you have a completely normal life to go live. Here's a normal morning. You go to your own laundromat to check the change machine, and a woman folding towels at the far table clocks you walking in and gives you the nod one. Regular gives another. She thinks you come here because your building doesn't have a machine. She's here every Wednesday. Her name is Carol. You know that Carol's dryer at home died in March, and she can't swing a new one yet. So Unit 6, the good one, the one that actually gets things dry on the first cycle, has a little handwritten out of order sign on it that you put there yourself. So it's always free when Carol comes in. Carol thinks she's lucky. Carol is not lucky. Carol is quietly looked after by a man she thinks is also doing his laundry. You empty the change machine. $240 in quarters, heavy in the bag, and you feel the exact same little animal satisfaction you felt at 19,000, at 500 million, at every number in between. The weight of quarters never gets old. That should probably tell you something. Your barber Sal has cut your hair for 6 years and thinks you do deliveries. He asks if the routes have been steady. You tell him they come and go. He nods because everybody's routes come and go, charges you $20, and you tip him $7, and neither of you thinks about it again. That's the whole transaction. Clean, both directions. That clean nothing is the most expensive thing you own, and Sal will never send you a bill for it. Your phone buzzes on the counter. The screen's had a crack in the corner since last winter. The contact says, dentist. You step out onto the sidewalk. The dentist is a woman named Priya who manages a pile of your money roughly the size of a small country's, and she is calling to ask, very calmly, whether you would like to do a thing with 8 zeros in it before the market opens. You say, yeah, do it. You watch a garbage truck back up across the street, beeping. You say thanks, hang up, and go back in to pay Sal, who asks if everything's all right. You tell him just the dentist. He winces in sympathy. Nobody likes the dentist. You get a hot dog from a cart run by a guy named Eddie. Eddie's cart sits on a corner you own, in front of a laundromat you own, and pays rent to a company with a name so boring the eye slides right off it. A company that is at the bottom of a very long stack of paper. Eddie gives you extra onions because you're a regular. You've been subsidizing Eddie's rent for 2 years because his hot dogs are genuinely good, and the corner would be worse without him. Eddie thinks the landlord is a nice company. Eddie is right. The landlord is a nice company. The landlord is standing here eating a hot dog and getting extra onions for free. This is the part nobody warns you about a number this size. The second anybody knows it, They start doing the math. What you're worth to them. What they'd be if they had it. The number walks into the room before you do and sits down and orders for everybody. So you leave it out in the world where you can't see it, in dryers and vending machines and a bowling alley that smells like 1994, and you walk in as nobody and it's the best deal you ever made. You are not a saint about it. You want to be clear about that. There is one thing you bought purely for yourself. Nobody has seen it. Nobody will. It's a mattress. It cost as much as a used car, and it is, no exaggeration, the greatest object you have ever owned, and the only people who will ever know it exists are you and the two guys who carried it up the stairs and have long since forgotten. You sleep on a small fortune every single night, and in the morning you clip a coupon for $2 off dish soap, and you feel great about both. That's not a contradiction. That's the whole system working exactly as designed. You pull up to the gas station, and there's Marco. Everybody in town knows Marco made it. The white truck says so. The watch says so. The way Marco stands at the pump angled just slightly so the watch catches the light says so. Loudest of all. Marco sells cars. Marco is one slow quarter away from the whole performance folding like a card table. And every person in this town who envies Marco is envying a stack of monthly payments wearing a man. Marco sees you and calls out, "Hey buddy, how's the driving?" You tell him it's steady. Marco says with real generous warmth, "Hang in there, man," and gets back in his $1,100 a month truck, feeling like the most successful person at this gas station, which, in a way that would break his brain if he ever found out, he is very much not. You don't feel better than Marco. You just went the other way with it. Marco bought being seen. You bought the not being seen. Turns out only one of those two things you get to keep when the quarter goes slow. Sunday, you go to your sister's for dinner, and your family thinks you're the one who never quite figured it out. Your sister does well, genuinely. She's a nurse manager, and she worked for every dollar of it. And at dinner, she says, not unkindly, that maybe this is the year you finally think about a career with, benefits. Your brother-in-law, who is 3 drinks in, calls you the tycoon, which is the family joke because you drive routes and rent an apartment, and once memorably showed up to Christmas in a coat from a gas station. You laugh. You laugh because it's actually funny, and because the alternative is a sentence you are never, ever going to say out loud at this table. They pass you the smaller piece of chicken because they figure you could use a break somewhere in life. You own the building your sister's favorite restaurant is in. You own the mobile home park where her first apartment was, and you kept the rent flat the year everyone else raised it. And she mentioned that once at this very table as a nice thing a landlord did, a small miracle of decency in a hard world. And you nodded and said that's lucky and passed the potatoes. You are at this table the family's gentle disappointment. You would not trade it for anything. That's the part that would sound insane if you tried to explain it, so you don't. So you're the tycoon, so you laugh. And then there's Holloway. 8 years ago, Holloway sat across a desk from you and told you, calm as a man reading a weather report, that you didn't have what it took, that you should aim for something more realistic. He said it like a favor. Maybe to him it was one. Holloway runs the hardware store on Main, and Holloway rents a storage unit and does his laundry at the laundromat on 5th, the one with the good light and the machines that actually work, the one you renovated last spring. This Wednesday, he's there when you come in to empty the change machine, and he watches you do it, and something crosses his face. Not recognition, not yet. Just a small, itchy question. The look of a man who's seen a face in a place the face shouldn't be. He says, "You work for the laundry company now?" And you say, "Something like that." And he nods and goes back to his socks, and your heart is doing something it hasn't done in years. The man in the good coat finds your manager again on Friday. You hear about it because your manager, Dennis, calls you thrilled because the man offered real money, an obscene number, for the 12 car washes. And Dennis, who thinks he's talking to a mid-level guy at a boring company, wants to know who he should send this up to. And you stand in the cereal aisle of your own grocery store, holding a box of the store brand flakes because they're $1 less and taste identical, and you tell Dennis you'll pass it along to the owner. "I am the owner." You do not say. You put the flakes in the cart. The man in the good coat is not a villain. That's the thing. He's just a man whose entire job is turning invisible things, visible, boring things, into line items, quiet things into a spreadsheet with a name at the top. And the name he's hunting for, 3 weeks and counting, across every laundromat and car wash and vending route in the county is yours. Every place he buys, he asks who owns the one next door. He's drawing a map. And all the roads on that map lead to a guy in a coffee-stained Honda who is, at this exact moment, deciding between two nearly identical boxes of cereal based on $1. It almost comes apart on a Tuesday. You're at the bowling alley, the one that smells like 1994 because of lights out over lane 6, and you like to fix the small things yourself. It's the last honest work you've got. You're up on the little ladder with the bulb in your hand when the man in the good coat walks in. He's here because somebody told him the guy who owns the bowling alley also owns the laundromats. He's here to find that guy. He looks around. He sees a man in a Honda driving, coffee-stained, 110,000-mile kind of outfit standing on a ladder changing a light bulb. And he asks you, friendly, no idea at all. Hey, you know who owns this place? And you look down at him from the ladder, this man who has spent 3 weeks in a good coat, God knows how much gas hunting for exactly the person currently holding a light bulb over his head. And you feel the whole thing balance on a knife, one true sentence away from over. You say, some company, I think. I just do the lights. He nods. He gives you a card, asks you to pass it along if you ever meet the owner. You put it in your pocket next to the coupon for $2 off dish soap. He leaves. You screw in the bulb. Lane 6 lights up. Your hands are not quite steady. And you stand on the ladder a second longer than you need to. And you understand that you just chose, out loud, to stay nobody. And that the choosing is going to keep costing you over and over for as long as this lasts. Because here's what the money doesn't fix. Your friend Danny is $40,000 behind. The house is behind. He tells you on the phone, not asking. Danny would never ask, just telling you because you're the person he tells things to. And you have $40,000 the way other people have loose change in a cup holder. You could make it vanish before he finished the sentence and never feel the air move. And you sit there and you don't offer. Because the second you write that check, Danny knows. And the moment Danny knows, every cheap beer you've ever split means something else. Every round for the rest of your lives means something else. You'd save his house and lose the one friend who never, not once, did the math on you. So you do the other thing. A lawyer Danny's never met calls him the next week and says a matter of his has been quietly handled by someone who'd rather stay out of it. Arm's length, no name. His $40,000 just goes away, and he spends the rest of his life thinking he caught the single luckiest break a man ever caught, and you let him keep it. It's the more expensive gift, the invisible one, and he will never, ever know you gave it. And that, right there, is the whole price of the thing. You buy the people you love, their good luck, and you don't get to watch them. Thank you. There is a woman you've been seeing. She's kind, and she's sharp, and she is slowly, gently, waiting for you to be honest about who you are. And you cannot, because you don't know yet if she's waiting for you or for the number. And the horrible truth is that the number has made it, so you may never be able to tell the difference. That's what $500 million actually costs. Not the money, the doubt. You bought a life where you get to wonder about everyone, forever. The email comes on a Thursday. Subject line, Q3 summary, no exclamation point. Priya, the dentist, doesn't dress up numbers. She never has. So it just sits there at the bottom of the message, a figure that has crossed a line it has never crossed before, a line that 8 years and 1 laundromat cat ago, you would not have let yourself say out loud in an empty room. You read it standing in aisle 7 of Holloway's hardware store, holding a rubber flapper valve for a toilet that's been running since Sunday, $4.80. Holloway rings you up himself. He looks at you a beat too long, that itchy question still not quite solved behind his eyes, and he says, "Do I know you from somewhere?" And you say, "I do my laundry over on 5th." And he says, "Huh," and takes your $5 and gives you your change, 20 cents, into your open hand. The man who told you you'd never make it, handing you 2 dimes. And neither of you says the thing, because only one of you knows there's a thing to say. You drive home, you fix the toilet, it stops running. You stand in the quiet bathroom and listen to it, not run. This small sound of a small thing you fixed yourself. And that is the closest thing to a celebration this number is ever going to get. The next morning, you take the Honda back to the car wash. The kid with the headset is there. He looks at your car, still muddy, always muddy. And he leans down to your window and he says, real gentle, like he's breaking bad news, sir. Honestly, for this, you're going to want the premium. You hand him your coupon, $2 off the basic, he sighs. You pull forward into the blue foam and the noise. And for 2 minutes, nobody in the entire world knows where you are or what you're worth or that the water coming down is technically yours. And it is still, after everything, your favorite part. So here's the only question worth asking. The one nobody in your life will ever think to ask you because nobody knows there's anything to ask. If you had everything and getting to keep your whole ordinary life depended on no one ever finding out, would you tell them? Or would you take the basic wash and the coupon and the quiet and drive home nobody? One more time.